Okay, so today we are going to talk about recording MIDI, recording in a software instrument in Logic. So you kind of had real instruments in real life, like vocals recorded through a mic or through a guitar. But yes, today we are going to talk about recording MIDI or recording software instruments. So obviously I'm going to start with software instrument. As you can see on the screen here, I'm just going to start with one channel and hit create. So the library opens up over here and we have our arrange window over here and the inspector and channel strip here. So let's start off with recording something in. So how do we do that? So I just want to get something going quickly. Let's start with a synthesizer. So in my library I click synthesizer, I click lead, and let's say, actually no, I'm going to go for a pad. A pad is more like a background synthesizer, more chords, like longer sounds, like more ethereal, like, well, don't have to be ethereal, but longer chords, longer sounds, kind of quite good for ambient kind of music. Okay, so we're going to try this classic analog pad. Hopefully you can hear that okay. And I'm triggering this with a Midi keyboard. A Midi keyboard I think is a must-have if you're going to be producing music. It doesn't have to be a full 88 key, it can be a 61 key or a 49. I've got 49 because I used to find 61 took up too much space and the 25 is too small. So yeah, 49 works for me, but if you're just going to dabble, if you're not really going to use two hands, you can probably get away with a 25 key. Akai make a pretty good basic one and it's got some basic pads on it that you can trigger drum beats and stuff with, so that might be one you look at. Okay, so we've got a classic analog pad selected here. It's loaded up onto here. If I just hit a chord, there you go, kind of airy sound. And I want to create some music, so I'm going to record an idea I have. So how do we do that? Okay, so what we need to do first is make sure that we've got this R selected. It will do it automatically, but you need this. It means record enable. And if you've got that on, then it will record. If not, you can't hear anything. I'm pressing my keyboard, but nothing's coming out. So that will let you hear it. And a pretty cool side note as well, if you see up here when I hit this note, it tells you the chord. So if your music theory isn't that good, then this is a great place to start with working out what the notes are. And anytime you hit two notes together, it will tell you. Pretty cool. Okay, but yeah, we want to make some noise, don't we? We want to record something. So we check that this is enabled, which it is. And second, we have to hit record. This one up here, but I would recommend getting into the habit of using the R shortcut key. So I hit it, it gives a countdown, and then the metronome goes away, which I don't want. I want to keep hearing that click so I can stay in time. So you can turn it on here, or you can do it with K, the K key on the keyboard. You'll notice in the bottom left corner you can see when I press that. So K is to turn the metronome on and off. Okay, so let's go back. So I've got a region in here I don't want. All I have to do is click on it, and then I can hit backspace, and then it disappears. Now I want this playhead marker to move back to the beginning because I want to record from bar 1. So if I hit enter, that will send it back to the beginning. That's a must know. Okay, so I'm selected in the right area. I've got this blue line around here. I'll click record, or the button R for record. And I want my click to stay on, so I hit click. I'll hit K. There we go. So when I record now, that will be continuously clicking along. I press space to stop that recording, and backspace to get rid of that region I don't want, and enter to send the playhead back to the beginning. So now I have my metronome on, as you can see up here. I've got the countdown, 1, 2, 3, 4. That will lead me into it. And you can also change this 1, 2, 3, 4 to be 2 bars of counting. And that will give you a bit longer to get ready. Sometimes just 1 bar of click isn't enough. Anyway, so I'm going to hit R and it will start recording, and I'll lay down some chords. Hit space to end the recording. Okay, and as you can see, I went a little too early, and so it's not recorded my very first note that I hit on the first bar. So a quick way to get around that is just to drag this region along. And then if you get this little symbol here, you can change the length of the region, and it is there. It's in there now, coming up on bar 2. But as you can see, the problem we have here is, looking at the piano roll, we've now got this bar 1 where nothing happens. And you can also see, as well as me missing out this first beat, which is now here, I accidentally hit that note, which I didn't want to hit. And I also am out of time, as you can see. I'm a little bit early there, and obviously very early there. So what I can do, the quickest way to solve this problem is in the piano roll here. And when you're working with software instruments like we are here, the pads or whatever it is in here, we will also be using the piano roll because that's the easy way to edit the MIDI notes. So what can I do to clean this up a bit? So what I can do is I can select all of it, because let's deal with the first problem, which is it's not in time. So if I hit Command A on my keyboard, that will select all of them. You'll now see that they've been highlighted. And what I can do is go over to the left here and hit under quantize. Quantize means put in time or snap to grid. And you can choose which level, which note you want to quantize to. So you've got 16th note, you've also got 8th note, quarter, loads of different options. And if you're more musical, you've got quavers, minims, semiquavers, quavers. But yeah, basically any one of these are in straight standard time, and these are triplet fill. And then down here you've got swing fill, and here different swing fill, and then different tuplets and triplets. So, but you're probably going to stick with these mainly, and some of these. And if you do want to swing it, as in give it a bit of that kind of wonk to it, you might put it in. Yeah, you're going to mainly use these two sections. So let's put it to, well, every beat here I want it snapped to, so I can go to the whole note here. And there you go. You saw everything just put in exactly on the line. So that's one way we can put things in time, and it's probably the easiest way. There's a shortcut for this. If you were to, I'll just undo that. If you were to select the area, which you can do by dragging and clicking your mouse over it, and you can go from that way, or you can go from that way. And if you were to click Q, it will automatically quantize to whatever setting you have here. So if I do that for all of them, Q, and there you go. They're now all in time. We don't want this one in here. As I said, it's a mistake. So we can click it, select the individual note. You notice it's been highlighted. And if you hit backspace, that deletes it. So now we've got what I intended to play. What you can also do is you'll notice these notes end maybe a little bit short. Maybe I wanted them to go right up to this beat on 3. So if I select these, I can click, and then at the ends, if you select on the ends, this will allow you to change the length, left or the right. Do that there. And we've still got this slight issue of there not being anything in bar 1 to bar 2, but I can fix that very easily by coming up to this area here and dragging the region. This overall marker is called the region, remember? And if I slide it by dragging, clicking and holding, it will take it back to bar 1 for me. So let's hit space and listen to it now. And that sounds a lot nicer, a lot smoother. Take off the click with K. And that is how you record some basic MIDI and some basic controls in here. Another thing I should mention is you'll notice there's different colors here, and these different colors relate to how much velocity, how hard, how strong the notes are. So you'll notice these green ones are a lot lighter, a lot quieter than these orangey brown ones. So what you might want to do to get a more uniform sound, you might not want to, but you might want to select these and just bring up the velocity down here. Bring up that little velociraptor and then pow and pow. Select those. And what you'll find is when you're playing with these, the louder you make something, or even the quieter, it might also change the articulation. So you'll find that it might start having a different tone, a different timbre to the instrument. Sometimes notes might jump out too much, so you might just want to click it and bring that down a little bit. That sounds good to me. Another thing we can talk about is the swing. If you did want to move it along a little bit, you can. That will nudge the notes along a little bit. So yeah, if you want a little delay, if you want to play with the rhythm a little bit, it doesn't have to be fixed to the grid. Like, it's good for EDM, but sometimes you don't want to be bang on every single time. It can make your music sound a bit robotic. Other things you might want to know how to do in this arrange window when you've got a region. If you want to loop this over and over again, you can hit L and that will create loads and copies of it all the way. If I zoom out up here, you'll see that it's just going on infinitely. And if I use this one, this is the vertical zoom and this is the horizontal. And then this allows you to view your arrange in a different way. So if I select this and I don't want this infinite loop, if I come to this area of the region and you see I get this indicator, if I click now, it will end the loop and I can drag it from there to how many bars I want. So if I wanted 16 bars, which is very common in say house music, there you go. You've got 16 bars of the same thing. On looping around, and that was done by hitting L to create a loop. You can also copy and paste the region, so if you were to click on it, make sure it's selected and highlighted, you can go to Command and C, and then if you drag your playhead to where you want the next one, hit Command V again and again and again, and now you've got 4 loops. Another option is to hold the Alt or Option key, click, and you'll see this plus comes up, and then you drag it and it copies. This is probably the quickest way to copy and paste something. Now, okay, so I've got my pad, I've got my basic chords underneath, so I want to create a bit more of a top line, a bit of a melody, the more main riff, if you like. I'll create another instrument, assuming I'm still working in just software instruments, just working with MIDI. I can hit new track up here, this plus, and then let's choose software instrument again. And now we've got our second track here. And as you'll see, these will just go underneath here. And this is how you build up. You build down, and yeah, you'll build up your track going down here and across. So I want to bring in now let's stick with electronic style. Let's go with a lead. So a lead is more just your main hook kind of sounds, your lead sounds. Let's go ambient lead, as we're going with an ambient feel. So if I want to come up with a melody. Don't know, just something random. Sounds pretty cheesy, but I'm going to hit R to trigger off the recording. I want to make sure that this one is the only one selected because that would record on both channels. We want it just on this channel, and you can see this is in a lighter shade of grey, so you can tell which one is selected. So yes, let's make sure the playhead is at the beginning, hit enter to send it to the beginning, and let's also make sure that we have the metronome turned on. If we click K, that will also do it. And now let's try that. That was super cheesy, but I'm not Mozart, all right? Okay, so we recorded that in, and this is what we've got. And you'll see that we can't see the whole screen very easily. So if you click on here and then you hit Z, that will fit it to screen, and it makes it a lot easier to see. And if you hit Z again, it will fade it, it will zoom it in and out. So you want it to fill the whole screen like this. And you can see once again, I'm a bit early here, I'm a bit early here. This looks a little bit dodgy too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the quantize. I've currently got it set to this, but I want it to be 1/8 notes. You'll notice it didn't do anything there because I didn't have anything selected. So I need to select it by clicking and dragging, and basically click, drag, and spread it over everything. Basically click and drag, or you can do Command A to select everything. And if we hit Q now, either press it here or on our keypad, and that has now put everything in time, hopefully, to the 1/8 note, to the quaver. So if I hit solo, because I only want to listen back to my ambient lead, not my classical analog pad right now. That is beautiful. Okay, so that sounded in time to me. It sounded fine. It sounded very basic, but it sounded fine. So now let's unsolo this, and we can hear it with the original analog pad. Enter to make sure we're at the start. Press play. Okay, so that is pretty basic, but it will do. Let's go back down here a sec. I'm just going to duplicate this region, so at least we've got a 16-bar loop, and I'm going to do that by hitting Alt or Option next to your Command button and dragging it, clicking, dragging, and then letting go. And now we've got a 16-bar loop that we can play. One other thing, I'm feeling this is a bit too slow, so I'm going to turn up the BPM a little bit by clicking and dragging this region. Let's say 125. Yeah, that will do. Okay, put me up here. So I'm going to open up the piano roll again. And let's say I don't like this melody. I'm going to change it very slightly because it's a bit dull. So what I can do is I can select notes by clicking and dragging, and then I can move them up and down the piano roll. And now I can make it sound at least a little bit more interesting. Move these around, and this long note I don't like, it's too sustained, so I can move the length of it by clicking either at the left corner or the right side of it. And what I can actually do is I can add in a new note entirely. So if I hit Command on my keyboard, What that's going to do, as you can see, is it's changing which tool I have selected. So your command button, when you have a mouse selected, is going to toggle this second tool. So this is your first tool, which is by default the left click tool, but you have all these different options. So clicking on this one, I can choose eraser, pencil, finger, glue, mute, so many different ones. But I'm going to click for now pencil, which is already selected by default. And by hitting command, that triggers it, and I have to hold that down. But now if I click anywhere on here, I can add in new notes and then make them longer or shorter. I return back to not holding down the command key. So if I now play it, that's improved the melody slightly. Still nothing I would use, but that's how you can pull things around. And if you ever want to delete a note, you just select it, hit backspace, and Command Z to undo anything. If you want to change the velocity, how hard you hit things, click on the region and then use this slider is the easiest way to do that. And yeah, this is some basic functions in here. You can change the type of snap. I always keep it on smart, to be honest, but you can fix it to snap to a bar or snap to the beats. Division, ticks and frames, these are all just smaller divisions of bar and beat. I'd leave it on smart. I never change it off of that, to be honest. This is the zoom area, so if you want to zoom in on this page, you can zoom vertically or you can zoom horizontally, and if you zoom in you get more grid definition. So here you can't see too much, but zoom in and you've got a bit better view of the grid. The only other thing, you might want to mute a channel while you're playing something. Or you can solo just one. Here you've got the volume, if you want to bring down the volume of a certain part. Bring up the volume. Or if you want to pan one to the left and pan one to the right, so one will come out of your left speaker, one will come out of your right speaker, or headphones if you're on headphones. And that's some very basic mixing, but we'll go into this in a much greater deal later on. Here you can zoom in on this window and zoom in on this window, and changes your vertical or your horizontal zoom in amount. Hit Z and that will fit everything to screen, which can be handy. And if you have a mouse wheel, you can scroll up and down by holding Alt or Shift, left and right. If you'd like to duplicate a channel, you can just hit that one there, and that produces exactly the same as what you have above, which can be handy. And to delete a channel, make sure you've got the right one selected and you hit backspace. Backspace is used for everything for delete. Okay, thanks for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you on the flip-flop later. Why have I frozen? Bloody hell. Okay, so that one was recording MIDI tracks or software instrument tracks. Hopefully you now have a good idea how you can start using some of Logic's sounds, record them and then manipulate them a little bit with the MIDI editor or the piano roll. So I suggest that you practice trying to record in some of your own software instruments, have a look through Logic's library, create new tracks, maybe do a few different instruments, maybe try getting a piano down or a synth down, and then maybe try the pads out, some of the orchestral sounds, whatever is your kind of vibe, just give it a go. Record a few different software instrument tracks and start layering them up, and then we can start turning that into a song. So good luck, and I'll see you on the next one.